What's going on, fellow Lorcana players? We are just a week away from the launch of Shimmering Skies, the brand new set coming out on August 9th, and now we are in one of my favorite parts of any TCG. It is the time where we throw out the old meta and we all get to speculate on what the new cards, what the new best is going to be. And I want to kick it off by bringing back an old faithful, Ruby Amber. We'll be taking advantage of some of the new cards that each of these colors are getting. So let's get right into it and take a look at the deck. So first up, with our one drop, we're going to run one of the newest cards coming to the set, and that's Daisy Duck, Donald's Date. Daisy is a one-cost uninkable card. She quests for 2, and she has a very special ability, Big Prize. Whenever she quests, your opponent actually gets to look at the top card of their deck, and if it's a character, they can put it in their hand. Otherwise, it has to go to the bottom of their deck. This card is high risk. We could be giving our opponent a lot of characters on the draw, but it's also high reward because if we're able to put items or actions and songs and locations to the bottom of the deck when your opponent's really looking for them, I think that's a big upside that outweighs the risk with this card. Also coming in for a one drop is going to be Mulan, Injured Soldier. She comes into the field with 2 damage on her, which won't be a problem because we have a lot of healing in this deck. And we also have a lot of things that benefit from our characters having damage on them. We'll run 4 copies of this Mulan, as this will be a great way to get damage onto the field so we can interact with it in interesting ways. Another character that comes onto the field with damage, it's going to be the 2-cost Mother Gothal, Withered and Wicked. We'll run 4 copies of this as well. Mother Gothal comes into play with 3 damage counters on her, but once we're able to get those off, she's a nice body to have on the board for only 2 cost. And then speaking of all the healing that we're going to be doing, one of the new items that Amber is getting for this set is going to be the Amber Chromacon. When you exert this item, you get to remove 1 damage from all of your characters, meaning that if we're able to use this multiple times over the course of a couple turns, those characters that have entered the play with damage on them should be pretty safe by the time they're ready to quest and challenge. And then up next, one of the new location cards coming with Shimmering Skies, we're going to be using Sugar Rush Speedway. It is 0 to move a character here, 5 willpower, with the ability On Your Mark. You can exert characters that are here, deal 1 damage to them, and then move them to another location, meaning we're going to have a way to get damage on our characters even if our opponent doesn't have anything exerted and won't challenge us. And then more importantly, because we get to move that character to another location, we can start to use more expensive locations that have really high travel costs because we won't be paying it when we use things like this. For this deck in particular, we'll just run 2 copies of this location. And then next up, for another character, we have the 3-cost Minnie Mouse, Stylish Surfer. We'll run 4 copies of this. This is our early game evasive character, questing for 2, and will be a shift target for one of the cards we have later in the deck that we'll talk about in a minute. Coming up next, we've got another 3-cost character coming with Shimmering Skies. It's going to be WreckIt Ralph, Demolition Dude. He's got 1 strength, 4 willpower, with the ability Refreshing Break. Anytime this character readies, you'll get 1 lore for every damage that he has on him. So if he has 3 damage on him, you'll get 3 lore when he readies himself at the beginning of your turn. And if you have another way to ready him throughout the normal gameplay on your turn, you can cash in on that again, which obviously we're going to have later in this deck. But before we get there, we do have another location to talk about. This one's going to be one of the most broken cards in this deck, and it's Prideland's Jungle Oasis. Now this could be a pretty expensive card to get up and running and use the ability of. It is 2 to move per character, but once you get 3 characters to this location, you can banish the location and play any character card from your discard completely for free. Which, if we're using some of our other cards as tools to move our characters here, we can get around that high cost and replay a big threat that our opponent's already gotten rid of. For this deck, we'll just run 2 copies of this. Since it is inkable, you could bump this up to see it more often. You just want to make sure that you find your tools so that you can actually use the ability in an advantageous way and not have to pay so much to use it. Moving on now to another character for this deck, it's going to be the 3-cost Mulan, Free Spirit, and this is the first card that we're using that has the support tag on it, which is going to come in key later down the road when we get to our really expensive characters. But for now, all you need to know is that she's a 2/3 questing for 2, and we're going to be looking to move that 2 strength to other characters to benefit from having so much strength on the board. For this deck, we'll run 3 copies of this. Now another character we'll run 3 copies of is the 3-cost Tuk Tuk that came in Ursula's Return. This is also an evasive character, and when you play Tuk Tuk, you actually can move him and another character to any location, also boosting that character's strength until the end of your turn. This is our other main tool to get cards to the Pride Lands and being able to use its ability. And because it provides our other character with 2 strength, it's got even more utility, and I love this card in the deck. Alright, and now we do need to talk about the card that's going to raise the price of this deck quite significantly. It's going to be the 4-cost Rapunzel, gifted with healing. When you play her, you can remove up to 3 damage from any character, and for every damage you removed, you get to draw a card. Then when she's on the board, she quests for 2, and she's a 1/5, making her a super strong tempo play and a draw engine, which is why she's so expensive on secondary markets. If you can get your hands on 4 copies, I would include them in this deck. If not, I would replace the other copies with the Julieta magical card that does very similar work, but doesn't quest for as much, doesn't draw as much, but fills a similar role as Rapunzel. And next up, we have an action that we haven't seen in a while being played. It's going to be On Your Feet now. We'll run 2 copies of this action, and what it does is you ready all your characters and give them 1 damage. They can't quest for the rest of the turn, but they can still sing, they can still challenge, and because our characters are getting 1 damage, we can either heal it with the Amber Chromacon that we showed earlier, or we can very quickly apply damage to our side of the board, making our most expensive card that I'll show last very cheap to play. But before then, we do have a Mickey Mouse to talk about. It's going to be the 4-cost Mickey Mouse, leader of the band, with support, and when you play him, he gives one of your other characters support, meaning we can take advantage of some of those earlier characters that we played that have enter the battlefield effects, but once they get on the field, they don't really do much, and now they can lend their strength to other characters that we want to challenge with, or maybe that we want to have a certain strength threshold. Alright, and then now finally, one of the most game-changing cards for Amber is going to be the 5-cost Minnie Mouse Drum Major. She's Shift 4 and has the ability Parade Order. If you use Shift to play her, you can go search your deck for any character card, shuffle your deck, and then put that card on top of your deck. And since we have so many ways to draw extra cards per turn, we'll be able to guarantee that we pull that to our hand, which means we now have access to our entire deck for whatever the situation may be. I love that we're getting more search tools. I know last set we did have Alma Madrigal that had a very limited search, but this one being able to search for any character, I think unlocks a huge potential for Amber, and we'll see how this fits into the meta. Another card that I wanted to showcase here is a different Rapunzel card. We got the playmat for her, but we never really see her be played, and that's Rapunzel Gifted Artist. Now she does have Shift 3, which I don't think we'll be using that shift much, because the other Rapunzel has a very similar stat line, but the ability here is whenever you remove 1 or more damage from one of your characters, you may draw a card. And because we have a way to damage everybody and heal everybody on our side of the field, this suddenly unlocks the potential to draw 3, 4, 5 cards just off of this Rapunzel alone, which isn't something that we've seen before. Next up, since we do have so many characters in this deck, we are running 49 total characters. We have to run the Mufasa card from Amber. He's got the ability, the sun will set. Whenever he is banished, and it doesn't have to be in a challenge, it's just banished, you can reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character, you get to play it for free. Otherwise, it just goes to the top of your deck, meaning that we're going to have a strong location or one of our strong abilities ready and waiting. But if we can get some of our super strong characters from this Mufasa, or any character that has an enter the battlefield effect, it's going to put our tempo so far ahead of our opponents that we should be able to capitalize and hopefully close out a game. And then another 5-cost card. This one's coming with Shimmering Skies. It's a new action called Revive. With it, you get to take any character from your discard pile with 5 cost or less and play it for free. Meaning we can go grab another Mufasa, we can go grab another Rapunzel and take advantage of their very strong effects and recover from any board wipe or removal control that our opponent's playing. And then finally, the last 2 cards of the deck. First up, it's going to be the new Maximus card. We'll run 2 copies of this, and Maximus, once you translate this to English, he reads, at the end of your turn, if you have a character with 5 strength or more, you gain 2 lore. If you have a character with 10 strength or more, you gain 5 lore. Meaning that if we're able to use our support characters to give our strength to just one single character and boost them up to 5 or 10, we'll be able to get the free lore just from having Maximus on the field. But you know what would be even better? What if we had a single character that had 10 strength or more? And that, of course, is going to be the new Gaston Pure Paragon. And the main reason we're running so much damage-based and already damaged characters in this deck, he has a 9-cost uninkable, but he has the ability, for each damaged character that you have in play, you pay 2 less ink to play him. So even just having 2 damaged characters on the board brings him all the way down to a 5-cost. And now you have a 5-cost 10-6 with Rush questing for 2. This card's insane. I would actually consider bumping him up to 4, but I don't want to be stuck having such a big uninkable card in my hand if I'm not able to get damaged characters on the board. But the upside of this card is incredible. I think we're going to see some great synergy from having damaged characters on the board, and you're going to make your opponent really have to think twice about doing partial damage during a turn, meaning that we get to quest for more and put ourselves in a better position to win the game. Alright, and with that, that does it for our Ruby Amber deck. I think the theme of this deck is very similar to the Call an Ambulance, but not for me meme. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is this a type of deck that you would try out playing at your local events? Once the new cards come out, I'm definitely going to get my hands on a playset of them so we can put this together, try it out in person. Are you as excited for Shimmering Skies as we are? If so, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back very soon with another video of some great decks that you can put together in just a week. See ya!